What's up, guys? John LoPresti here with Cardinal Financial and Mike Misiti over at Compass. And we're here to talk today about the changes in real estate over the last 3 years and pretty much how to expand your business and the growth in the business and the direction of the business. Why don't you tell me a little bit about, you've been doing this a long time. Tell me a little bit about what you've seen change over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, we started our team, the Stanco Misiti Team at Compass, like in 2020. We made a big change where we started to expand the team. I feel like this industry is going in the direction of teams younger, heavy on the video. You're really casting with a really wide net where everybody needs to know who you are. You have to have tens of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. You just blow up and have a huge brand. Brand has been really the key word of the last couple of years. And I feel like you have to wear a lot of hats in this industry, whether it's, doing mortgage banking or a mortgage broker or real estate. You have to wear a lot of different hats. You have to know your market. You have to be able to market properties well and have a team that can handle a lot of different things. I mean, we're not sitting there doing disclosures anymore. That stuff is behind us. We have a well-oiled machine that operates on many different levels. And I think, the agents that refuse to accept that, they're going to be left behind.
I say it all the time. If people don't know what you do for a living, how do you expect to get business? And what's the best way to do that is through social media, through videos and expanding your audience, because you can capture an audience, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You're able to expand your audience a lot more than you can in traditional and old school marketing like newspapers and penny savers. And not to take anything away from those, it's all great marketing, but with social media you're able to expand your audience and get out to a broader range of people.
Well, two things. I mean, they want to like who they work with, right? And so they get to see your personality every single day shine through with social media to the point where they feel like they know you and they can call you straight off of that. And that's really important. The other thing is when you have a team and you start to model this off of like a business within a business, you can then have certain people, certain players on the team, work with certain individuals that it's a good fit. Whereas before, you might not be a good fit to work with somebody and that lead is just lost. But when you have a team, you can scale and you can just service more people in a better way.
Yeah, having a team and being able to put people in a certain position to win and succeed is really important to me. It's like Bill Belichick, right? He puts people in a position to win and succeed, right? So if you have a client and their likes and dislikes, you're able, as you just said, to be able to match them with a certain team member that you have that it's going to mesh well and they're going to get along well.
Absolutely. Let's use the example of kind of how we met. John obviously had a huge social media presence. We somehow connected that way. And I found out that I was really close friends with John's brother like 20 years ago through tennis because he mentioned it through his social media. And I would have maybe not even gotten to that point with John unless I knew that about him, that he was a tennis player. I'm a former tennis player. And it just kind of clicked that way. And it's very interesting how you can feel very connected to someone if you see them every day and they're marketing nonstop. It's super important.
Yeah, and my brother was only good in tennis because he had Mike as a partner. We all know that.
Of course.
The other thing too is, a part of the team as well too, is that when you have a group of younger guys and girls that are eager, hungry, and want to work and have the audience and capability of doing social media, and maybe I'm not succeeding in a certain spot with social media where I could be doing better, and they're able to put their 2 cents in and weigh in on the situation and say, hey, maybe we should try to do this, or we should try to do that. It just makes it a lot more easier and more team oriented as well too.
Absolutely. We run a 14-person real estate team all across Long Island and Queens, and we have people who speak Greek. We have agents who speak Russian, Ukrainian, all different languages, Italian. And so we can tap into different markets and just showcase how diverse the team is, and really we each have strengths and weaknesses in the team, and we could step up to the plate, to do different things to round the team off a bit. So like any other team in any sport or anything else. Yeah. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's funny, and we're very blessed too, because you had mentioned that you really kind of grew your team in 2020, right? During the COVID years.
Exactly.
And we pretty much did the same thing. Like we came to Cardinal in February of 2019. We had a great first year. Nobody really knew who Cardinal was at the time. They were big across the country. They didn't really have a Northeast presence, and that was our job when we came here. We made the commitment to expand Cardinal in the Northeast, and all of a sudden COVID hits, right? And we were able to expand during COVID, and we hired a lot of younger people that were new to the business, right? And in both real estate and mortgages, and I'm sure a lot of other professions too, you're basically put in a desk and say, all right, figure it out. Best of luck to you, right? You either have that option where you're basically going to hit the streets and trying to find business, which during COVID was almost impossible.
Exactly.
Or what we tried to do with, a lot of the guys that were starting with us is to have them work on our files and be a true assistant on the files and a partner on the files and learn under us and be able to take the relationships. As you know, in every transaction, there's 2 realtors and 2 attorneys and a buyer and a seller, right?
Of course.
So if you do a good job on a loan, you're going to be able to get a meeting with a listing agent or an attorney, right? So we gave the guys that worked for us an opportunity to work on our loans, learn in the business, be able to learn how to clear a file in 3 weeks, be able to learn how to put together a file the proper way, submit it to an underwriter up front, and do a good enough job to be able to get that meeting with a listing agent that you wouldn't have had that opportunity if you were just kind of sitting at a desk and saying best of luck to you.
We've trained our agents really well. When they come on, they shadow us. It's very important that we allow them to leverage their business off of our own. My partner's been in the business for 20-something years. We've sold $750 million of residential real estate on Long Island. And so we want the agents to come on and leverage off of our business. So we bring them on, they shadow the first couple of deals, and then they're off and running, and we assist them and manage them, help them with negotiations, whatever it may be. But we click in a certain way that everybody knows their role. I think that's really important.
100%.
And so the way the teams are operating now, you can cover a lot more ground.
Yeah.
And the ones who are coming in and you're absorbing, it's like, it just speeds their career up so much more to be able to do that, to be able to jump on a team that has that much business under their belt that they do every year.
Yeah, and when you're creating a workplace where people are excited to go to work, right, or they enjoy it, it makes it that much easier, and people are, it's an actual team, and they're willing to help out somebody else on that team. Like, I know how it is with you guys. It's the same thing here. It's like, if this person can't cover this open house, they'll ask somebody else to do it, or if they need help on a loan, they'll ask somebody else to do it. So it's like they're always willing to work out a deal with somebody else on the team to be able to get the ultimate goal of getting it across the finish line.
Absolutely.
Which is
Everybody
really stressful
wins.
to have. Yeah, everybody wins.
So I wanted to ask you a question because Compass CEO Robert Reffkin was in the news this week. He was actually on CNBC saying how he thinks Q4 and maybe Q1 2023 is really the last time buyers are going to have an opportunity to negotiate good deals. Just curious as to what your thoughts are on in the mortgage market, and then I have my thoughts on what I think is going to happen.
I think that's a really good question. I mean, I think that's a really awesome answer too, because one of the things that we've been talking about is that in this market now you're able to actually finally negotiate your own deals, right? In some ways, I think it's a better market than what it was over the last year and a half. It's got, its positives and its negatives, right?
More stability, in other words,
more
equilibrium.
Stability. A little more inventory would be a little better, right?
Yeah.
But, yes, the rates are double than what they were previously, right? But, there's not 40 people submitting an offer on a home. Listen, we had last week alone, and we track everything. All of our leads are tracked. So last week alone, we had 135 new applications, this group over here, which is more applications than we had in any week in 21 or in 2020 or even 22.
Wow.
And this is, everybody's saying the worst time to buy. Out of the 135 applications, I would say probably 35 were people looking to refinance. As far as, the market in general, I mean, people are now, so 135 apps, 35 probably refis. So you have 100 people now. At this point, they know where rates are at, right? They know approximately where the payments are going to be. Everybody uses Zillow and the mortgage calculators, right? So you have 100 people in 1 week inquiring about purchasing a home where, again, they know what the market is. They know it's not easy to find a home. They know the rates are higher. But, I don't know if it was the start of the new year, but they got into it. And, again, that was the busiest week we've ever had, which is a really, really positive sign on our end. I know everybody was, a little nervous or shooken up over the last 6 months of how quickly rates climbed.
Yeah.
But, with our group, it was always like, put your head down, get to work. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. The only way to change that narrative is just to work.
And, Robert Reffkin hinted at the fact that Q1 of this year might be the last time that buyers have. In the middle of the country, in Florida, there's definitely larger pullbacks. New York seems to not pull back that much, even with the higher rates. Robert didn't necessarily say this, but my feeling is that with government debt so high, and not to get too complicated or in the weeds, I don't see long-term high interest rates servicing all of the debt that the government has at extremely high interest rates. So what they'd like to do is get inflation down as quick as possible.
Sure.
And then reverse those rates. So to negotiate a really good deal right now, early in 2023, and then refinance in 6 months or 9 months, which I think by the second half of this year, we'll see lower rates again.
Yeah.
Maybe not where we were, but certainly moving in a lower direction. You could refinance at that point, as well as having negotiated a really good deal on the home. So I think for a buyer right now, if you're savvy and you have the right agent and the right mortgage guy, I think you could really work something out quite nice.
Interest rates for everybody. Interest rates move directly with inflation. So as inflation goes down, interest rates will go down, right? As inflation has gone up, interest rates have gone up. So as inflation is coming down, interest rates will come down. So when people say, should I wait till rates come down? Everybody else is saying that. If you want to wait for rates to come down, expect another bidding war on the property. So it was a really great point that you made, is like November was one of the worst times in 2022. I mean, rates were literally, there was a 2-week period where rates were almost 8%. Right? And we see people right now that have closed at a 7.5% rate or a 7.25% rate. And after a couple months mortgage payments, we're actually getting the okay from corporate to refinance them. Typically, you need to make 6 payments for us with an EPO early payoff, but we're getting the okay from corporate to show them that they can qualify for a refinance right now, just 1 or 2 payments in. So as Mike just said it, if this is, we do expect rates to come down at some point this year, right? And when they do come down, expect people to come out of the woodworks, the people that have been waiting for rates to come down. And now there's going to be more inventory that opens up, and there's going to be those bidding wars again. But as he just explained it, if you get into a property now in this first quarter where you're still able to negotiate a price, negotiate a seller concession, negotiate based off the inspection report, whatever it is that you want to negotiate, you have an opportunity to do it. Don't go crazy with it. But, if you're taking a little bit of a higher rate, you can always refinance it. Who really cares about interest rate? Like, the average person only holds that debt for 5 years. After 5 years, they either sell and buy a new house or they end up refinancing it, right? So they don't end up holding on to that mortgage long enough to decide whether it's a good rate or a bad rate.
And forget about the rate. They live in the monthly payment.
Yes.
The taxes, the principal, the interest.
Yep.
And if that number works for them, they'll move forward. And then, like you said, 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, as people tend to move within 7 years, then they'll worry about the next payment that they have based off of their income at that time. People are really moving every couple of years, especially due to work. People work remote now. They have opportunities all over the country. New York has seen an exit of more than 300,000 people in the last, pretty much every single year for the last couple of years. Florida, for instance, Florida and Texas, more than 300,000 people have moved into those states, which are no income tax, better weather, whatever the other reasons that they're moving down there. And so, it's nice to be able to, take people from one area and move in. With our network, and I'm sure with yours, you're able to cover a lot of different areas in terms of how we can service them. I don't think agents 10, 15 years ago even fathomed being able to have that kind of network. But for us, in our team, we're building out our team and in talks to even expand to Florida. We can handle getting somebody down on a plane or having somebody down there and negotiating a deal in another state for somebody who's relocating, whether it's retirement or, whatever other reason that they want to move down there. And so, that's another aspect to the team that we were talking about earlier that's so important. Because things are constantly changing, whether it's rates or jobs or, people moving around the country. And you have to be able to tap into that and be able to service those clients equally.
Yeah. Mike, thanks so much for coming on today. If anybody, has any other questions or wants some more information, please see the information below and reach out to Mike or I.
Thanks so much, John.
No problem.